Today, in the Hindu culture, we celebrate a special festival, Dashain, Dashera. Yesterday was the ninth day and the last day of Navaratri. Welcome to the fourth episode of this podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we talk about feminine energy. I really like the way Sadhguru articulates how this festival is very symbolic. While describing the festival, he says, feminine is a powerful dimension of life. Without the feminine energy or Shakti, Sanskrit word, Shakti, there would be nothing in existence. Really, really well articulated. And yet, in a culture, in a society where we worship the female deities and where we appreciate and worship the powerful female energy, there's still so much discrimination against women. In Nepal, in India, it's even more pronounced. The discrimination is even more pronounced. And having been raised in that culture for the most part of my life, the biggest part of my life, I can tell you the discrimination it's been internalized by women to a great extent. And that's when it starts to get really risky for society, when discrimination becomes so normal, it's so normalized and internalized that in a lot of cases it's the women becoming perpetrators of that gender violence, gender discrimination. Having said this, by no means am I trying to undermine the extent of male domination and the patriarchal domination in these societies. But I'm saying that both men and women often act as perpetrators of violence. And here, today, I will be talking about, well, not talking in a different form, in the form of poetry. I'll be talking about how that gender discrimination and gender violence looks in the context of marriage of their daughters. So it's you know, in a way it's a generational problem as well, the generational pressure and you know, source of power and domination. But a big component of it is how women are treated, the pressure they face in the form of force to get married. So this poem is from my blog, from my poetry blog, Ghimire Poetry, Ghimire-poetry.blogspot.com. And the title of this poem is Kathmandu's Marriage Bazaar. Kathmandu's Marriage Bazaar. It might come across as a bit revolutionary to some of you in Nepal. I think it's time we started talking openly and honestly about these issues and actually having a conversation rather than trying to avoid it. It's some of these things have become outrageous and disgusting in our society. So here it goes, Kathmandu's Marriage Bazaar. It's a festival, and I bet my aunts are more excited than me to find a groom-to-be. Apparently, it's time to hit the marriage market. I turned 23 last May, and on my graduation day, my father looked at me, told me he was proud of me, and with a lifted voice said he'd be prouder if I got married the following November. A cold November day, my mother dreams. Her daughter dressed in the red bridal sari. Red, she dreams, will be the color of my white sheets too on the wedding night. In a traditional Hindu ritual, the girl donation ceremony, Kanya Dan, where the father literally donates her daughter to his new son-in-law, a property donated, sold off from one man to another, business deal sealed in the marriage bazaar. It's a festival scheduled in my father's head, in his mind, scheduled in his own mental lunar calendar of some kind, ready to ship me off. But they're educated and vehemently oppose child marriage like almost every other urban Kathmanduite. So they wait long enough until my college degree, while all the while watching my moves, reading my text, just making sure I haven't spread my legs yet. So we go shopping in the marriage bazaar, a virtual bazaar, with hard copy photographs of bachelor men replaced by Facebook profile pictures my aunt pulls out from the profile of another woman, a mutual friend. And thus begins the checklist of the most eligible bachelor. My mother comes across a guy, the son of a neighbor's distant cousin, posing in his leather jacket next to a Christmas tree. A Facebook profile picture with mere 16 likes. My first date, a virtual date on Skype. With a college transcript with mediocre grades and a vaguely lost, confused graduate with no time to figure out what I want or my worth, I get cornered into saying yes to a guy I've never met, the grandson of a former government secretary with a 3-storied house in Delhi Bazaar. He passes the standardized test, just the way he must have aced the MCAT. And the same bazaar that had discounted me for my lack of self-esteem, for the 3 moles on my face, for my tanned skin, finds a business deal I'm told I'm not supposed to refuse. Then I get asked politely, an illusion of free will, whether I'd want to marry my way into a bright future. A buyer is ready in some distant land. My price, negotiated. His green card and his medical degree. I get conveniently donated, sold off, socially prostituted with the aid of Sanskrit verses on a gloomy November day. Thank you so much for listening. Stay tuned for the next episode.